summary of actions?
Yes.
Okay. We have items 1 through 24, and I would move those.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a couple of things to add to the needs action. One of which is the year-end salary reserve and fringe benefit transfers. At the year-end, I clean up all the accounts, Joanne and myself, and we do any. This year, we don't have to do a salary reserve transfer. We didn't have any of those, but there are some salary transfers between departments, and there's some fringe benefit transfers to clean up negative accounts. So those are in there.
Do we have to vote those separately?
No, you can just sign it. That would be fine. And also a regular group-to-group year-end transfers, just cleaning up a few negative balance accounts. So that goes in there. And then this one I just want to touch on a little bit further. This is the beginning list for continuing appropriations for 2010. I haven't finished it yet. This one is somewhat of an emergency during the electrical storm, 2 electrical storms last week. We incurred damage to some of our computer equipment in the amount of $28,000, which we will file an insurance claim for. But we need to replace that ASAP. So I am doing a transfer and a continuing appropriation from one of the accounts to put some money aside so that John can start buying some equipment, and then we will get the insurance money in to replace that. So I'm including that.
Just out of curiosity, on the surge protection, which is supposed to protect us, where is that being looked into as to whether?
Yeah, John, I asked him about that. He didn't have an answer, but yeah, it's something that we're certainly looking into. I have a correction for you guys to sign. It's actually part of the package that we had submitted back in June to the Assembly. It's the Enabling Regulations, Chapter A. Diane told me that for whatever reason, this piece didn't get signed. So we need to sign it. So I'm including that in there. Bill, you need to sign that if you would. And then the only other thing you have in front of you, is a copy of what we talked about last week, the Water Protection Collaborative Review Committee. Andrew did a terrific job. I made a couple of minor edit corrections and changes, put it in the vote format. So, Maggie, do you have a copy of that? Here.
No, thank you.
Okay, so the two of you went over this together.
We did.
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
all right. I didn't realize that.
The only thing I felt that was missing, but I wasn't sure how to include it, I said that to Andy, was that whole discussion about, how do you help homeowners who may be in these transition areas who have septic system problems. And I thought rather than try to fit it in, maybe it doesn't quite fit because the charge is a little bit broader than that. Maybe Bill, we can suggest Bill just bring that to the committee for discussion purposes and let them figure it out.
When I was talking to Patty Daly on my television program yesterday, we talked about how do we accommodate people who have done the right thing and installed appropriate on-site septic systems. How do we somehow make them whole, or at least recognize that as we try to serve the rest of the community, because they've certainly put a lot of money into it. Now we're facing another problem in Barnstable because we have to come up with some alternate, septic support. And I believe Judge Hoyfelter is going before the Board of Health in Barnstable to deal with that. And speaking of that, I'd like to suggest that we ask George to give us a sort of a summary of the help that we gave Provincetown, what advice they followed of the original suggestions we made, and sort of an after-action report as to what happened in Provincetown.
Okay. I'll have them come in.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to have whatever that plan is. I know whether George talked about it or Andy Gottlieb. If someone had or needed to put in upgrade their Title V now, and they knew in another 8 or 10 years that the town was going to sue or whatever, they would get some sort of credit for that. A certain amount of dollars would be set aside. I think it would be helpful to put that in some sort of in writing.
Yeah.
I attended the first sewer social, as they call it in Falmouth, the first public education of our public education programs for all the different communities. So we call it the sewer social. And it was over in Seacoast Shores. And that's one of the peninsulas that is slated for sewer. And it was really amazing how positive the people were about the sewer and how knowledgeable they were about the reasons why, and the degradation and all the 100% nitrogen loading that exists in that lower part. But that was the question they asked, that if I had to upgrade my system now and then in 5 years I'm going to get assessed for a sewer, how will that work? So I think having that available in some sort of
handout and something that could be on the website as well.
That timeline we talked about, the planning,
right.
the technology,
right.
and the funding formulas, that
right.
maybe could be included in that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a series of sewer socials in case anybody would like to.
And also there is a whole section in there that that also sort of pairs with this, that we were talking at the Water Collaborative. We were looking at Chatham and how they figured out how to present this funding. And how is the cost going to be spread across? And this is something that they did really well there, and it had a lot of forethought. And we would like to take that template and bring it to the towns to say, this is how you can avoid what happened, in Barnstable.
Yeah,
so,
the Water Protection Collaborative now has never really encroached upon the community's financing discussions, how internally just the macro discussions of providing money to come to them. This would be a new step in that direction. Given what happened in Barnstable, I mean, it almost exclusively went down because it was 100% betterment, which is unlike any other community on the Cape.
Exactly right.
But now you're starting to hear in Orleans opponents to the sewer saying that Barnstable didn't do it because they didn't need it, which is another issue. I mean, it really wasn't a threat to public water quality, and it wasn't a nitrogen issue. But so we need to get out there. I think regionally we need to revisit whether we are going to provide some advice and counsel on betterments policies. That I think there may be some pushback from the towns that don't want to hear that, but given what's at stake and the potential negative repercussions from a project that was 100% betterment and not really a water quality issue per se, it may be something you want to revisit.
Yeah, I think it is something that we should revisit, and it's not as though we're forcing them to take this information, but I think it's information that they need and should be able to wrap their minds around. I think that a lot of town administrators would probably appreciate it because many people see the need and the benefit.
Yeah.
They don't like the fact that they might be faced with these costs. And obviously Barnstable didn't, well, I won't make judgment calls, but I mean, there was different ways that they might have been able to go about this. And there are, and as I say, Chatham did a good job. I mean, they passed it.
Chatham and Orleans and Falmouth and Stewart.
They're ahead of the game.
Mary Pat talks about the level of awareness and education.
Right.
That comes from the leadership of the town, and the Board of Selectmen, and sort of promoting that over a number of years. We're not at that level of education in all the communities. And if you look at the MWRA, they actually do a water and sewer rate survey every year, which shows how each municipality, 65 of them, breaks down in charges for water and sewer. And in a very sort of data-intensive way that is not judgmental, you can see how different communities handle their own internal financing structure. That might be appropriate. I was surprised at the number of people that didn't realize that Barnstable was the only community that had 100% betterment policy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the
Now, is betterment, just so I understand about betterment, now, is betterment a situation where they're able to deduct the cost from their taxes?
No.
So in other words, it's a total cost.
It's a
and
total
there's no
cost.
benefit.
The town determines, under the betterment, the towns can determine what the percentage is that the town will pay and the resident will pay. It isn't always 100%. It could be 70-30, it could be 50-50. It's really up to the town.
Yeah.
And then then there has to be an engineered plan, and there has to be then a determination of what the cost is. And you have to make sure that it's right, because you can't ever increase it. A betterment. So once you say it's $5,000 per homeowner, that's the maximum it can ever go. So you need to move on these projects pretty quickly. And then the homeowner has the option of paying that $5,000 all at once in 1 year, or spreading it out over 20 years. And then it's then recorded with the property on the assessors. And then if the property transfers sometime within that 20-year period, that homeowner has to pay off the difference.
Right.
And otherwise, it goes on for 20 years.
Yeah, and
It's
that's, in the past, it's been different. When you look at some of the construction costs they're dealing with, now you're talking about betterments that are $30,000 per household, and in some instances would have the effect of doubling people's property tax and then them only being able to take a tax benefit for half of that because it's all benefit. So there is that larger question about how any municipality can impose what will be the largest capital construction projects these towns have ever done and not contribute at all from the general tax levy, and not spread that around in any way, shape, or form, and just mandate that individual homeowners finance personally the largest capital construction projects some of these towns are ever going to see.
Right.
And it raises larger issues about how far you spread that out, whether it's a town-wide a debt exclusion, carrying the burden on general tax levy, or whether there might be some county
Right.
effort
I was just
at
thinking, is there a
spreading
way that that
Right.
could
the
be?
cost around.
That's right.
And it really puts the focus on sewering those parts of towns that really need to be sewered, identifying where other alternatives other than sewering make sense, and to look at those areas that have appropriate density for sewering. When you get into these areas that are zoned 2-acre zoning, those pipes become very expensive, and those betterments go through the roof.
Right.
I wanted to say something else about the betterment too, because those betterments, those ratios, whatever they may be, have to be approved by a town meeting vote. And I was on the Board of Selectmen back then when the new Silver Beach treatment plant was designed, and the whole question was, what will the betterment be? And what will town meetings support? Would it support a 70-30? Would it support an 80-20 or a 90-10? And we didn't think that town meeting would support anything more on the town side than 70%. And so it was a 70-30 betterment, the town paying 70 and the homeowners paying 30. Which didn't really amount to a whole lot at that time, but then it went into litigation for 10 years, and then by the time that the cost doubled. But the thing is, that's why the education is important,
Exactly right.
and where there has to be other entities paying other than the homeowner, and you have to really educate town meetings so that they know what they're voting on,
Right.
and otherwise it's going to end up in a conflict and a brawl at town meeting.
And town
The
managers
betterments are
and
proposed to conflict.
boards of selectmen.
All
need that
the
education.
economic development activities based upon the value that people perceive in Cape Cod and the value that they perceive in the town.
Right.
And that value is something I think the responsibility for maintaining that value is something that is shared throughout the community.
That's right.
A particular part of the community, if it deteriorated, would affect the whole community.
community.
And I think that holistically, that's something that has to be integrated into the thinking.
You're absolutely right, because people have to understand that it benefits the whole town to have one section of the town sewer.
Even Barnstable, I think, if you take the positives from the debate that they had, and I think the town council really looked at it as a hearing. They wanted to hear from the people. I don't think that they prejudged which direction they were going to move in. They were under some pressures because of their stimulus money that was available at the time. But the positive that I take out is a recognition that this really is everybody's problem. And it needs to be spread out, and it can't be an unfunded mandate by any single town to any single homeowner. That there has to be a sharing of the burden.
And many of those watersheds are shared with other towns. Like, for instance, LaPorte, it's a share between Mashpee and Falmouth. So you can't even just look at it as that particular area within a town and the whole town, but you have to look at the whole watershed and who's affected by that degradation of our watershed.
And you
So
bring up
it
the
makes
whole
a big-
concept of zones of contribution, where if you're not directly in the watershed, yet you're a significant contributor,
Yeah.
there's here's where we come in. There's some responsibility we have of educating
Absolutely.
everybody in order to meet the responsibility that we have to each other in order to maintain the pristine nature of our environment.
And looking at some sort of shared financial burden on the counties.
Okay, well, we could for a long time, so
we need to
but we
make
will
a
incorporate
motion.
that. That can be discussed.
Yes,
Okay,
so you emailed this to us.
Yes,
so
I did,
you
yeah.
had a chance to read it.
There's only one. I'm good with with this, but I think there's one thing that we have to be clear that when we give that charge, that our expectation of the outcome of this is around the charge, and that everybody needs to understand that. And one other thing, although I completely agree with the people that have been invited to be appointed, perhaps we should have told them it was an invitation rather than they were appointed, because we really don't have the authority to tell these people to go on.
I think
They
they indicated they came
Right,
to
we
us.
solicited.
We
so-
solicited.
We did.
Right.
Yes, we
Yes.
did. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the only thing I
We
was
weren't just
concerned
plucking
about.
them out of the air.
Mark,
So-
do you
No.
want to put September 30 on this, rather give it, or did you want September specifically to be a little bit more broad?
I was letting Andrew kind of
Yeah.
be a little flexible as
Yeah.
to.
I think that's
He
fine.
Yeah.
did indicate that he would take over the responsibility of the administrative
Yeah.
movement of all
Right.
of this, which was a great concern to me, so I was happy that he picked that up.
So if you are comfortable with this as drafted, I would suggest you, on
I'll
one
make a
copy, you
motion.
sign it and you make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve that charge.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So approved, and we will sign that and get that.
I'll sign it when I have.
Yeah, you can sign that one, just pass it around.
Oh, okay.
We'll put it in the needs action and everything. I'll have a copy of it.
Let's see, so this is signed.
Kara did ask a question the other day, or it was a request, and I see you're doing it. She's having a hard time on some of these things figuring out which is original. So if one of you can
Yes.
sign in blue. So I asked
I
her
have
to-
just done that.
Yeah, I asked her to put all blue ink in the
Oh, okay. I don't even know.
in the pens on your table. So
Right.
I think somebody told me that before on another board.
Yeah, that's
meeting,
right,
you know,
official
you know,
documents in
official,
blue.
you know, to
Yeah,
have it
you
in a
keep thinking it
different
should be
color.
in black. I think it's invitation writing. It's in black. Is there anything else?
I have another. Yeah, I have a simple. Well, there's two things. I have a simple vote. If you recall, a while back, we were asked to use the old jail facility for filming a OxyContin abuse film. A gentleman was making. He originally wanted to do that in July. He's asked if he could move that to September. So I'm asking you to vote to approve that. September 2nd through September 6th.
There's no, other.
Yeah.
I'll move that.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
And-
Aye.
Thank you. And the only other thing we have left to discuss is our draft agenda that Pat and
Oh,
I
I.
I
yeah.
liked it very much.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. I think that at least it's a start. I think that these things evolve, you know, we start using it, and then if we need to...
We can,
we
we can always
add to it.
modify it.
Yeah. That's just my thing. But I'd like to see that because it gives us a place where we can all participate.
Participate and then listen. So.
Okay.
I sense a
So,
certain amount of
we don't need
irony
to
in
vote.
voice,
No, we
matter.
can
We
just
just
have
need-
that as our.
That'll be the
Consensus.
template. Does Kara have it now?
Here, no, she doesn't have it. It's going to be like that.
Okay.
Yes, I thought it was fun.
I always listen
And
to
thank you
what
for
they
doing
say.
that.
Oh. Oh, Mark and I did it together.
Yes, yes. So we won't look like the View anymore.
Well,
Good.
We carry from mine, I think. Yeah,
Oh.
Mrs. Hasselbeck.
Bill, I know this is near and dear to your heart. I don't have
Oh,
the
yeah.
June numbers, but there are some, you want to talk about the numbers on the NACO prescription drug discount program, and it's steadily increased.
Yeah.
If you look back from when we started in February of 2007 to now.
Yeah,
It's
this
been
was
steady
from
increase in
19,000 to
usage.
54,000. I
Really?
noticed April was a big month.
Yeah.
57,000.
Also,
in terms of,
if you look at total utilizers, it was 200 and blah, blah, blah. Now it's
665 last month.
Really?
If you take a look at the moving average, we've been averaging above 625 for most of this year.
Mhm.
So that's a good thing. So people are aware of it, people are using it, and this is a direct benefit that I'm very proud that we have been participating in for a couple of years.
And it's not, it's a good program. I just point out the average price that people save is about $14.50 on a prescription. So
Excellent.
That's
That's
very
It ain't bad.
anything is
Yeah.
Better than a bump in the
helpful.
eye.
That's right.
That's all I have. That's the report from the county administrator.
There you go.
Thank you.
I don't think I have a report.
No, I just was.
How was I have a question. How was the Mary LeClaire
Oh, yes.
Woman of the Year
It was
thing?
wonderful.
It was really, really nice. It
Oh,
was.
my goodness.
Fortunately, it was a gorgeous day,
That's good.
and it was very well attended. And I thought it was, and Mary gave a great speech,
Oh, yeah.
probably the
Yeah,
best.
she acknowledged everybody that had gone
yeah.
before. Yeah.
And no, it was really very nice.
That's very nice. Good.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure to be there.
Good.
What else did we do this?
Well, in Falmouth, we dedicated the new bikeway, the extension of the
Oh,
bikeway.
yeah.
So we had Bill Delahunt and Senate President Murray and I'm going to forget somebody. Anyway, it was really a great event. And the pouring rain. We stood under an underpass.
I saw
And the
that.
thunder and lightning and everything was.
Thursday or Friday?
It was Thursday at
Thursday,
11:30,
yes.
and it rained just as we
It was
started.
awful.
Right.
And
So those
it
rides
was-
I did on it didn't count because
But-
it wasn't dedicated.
Well, no, that's right. But bikers, they don't care about rain.
Yeah, they
You know,
took
they
right
saw
off. I saw,
bikers.
they have a podcast.
Did they have a
on,
podcast on it?
On
Well,
Falmouth.
somebody handed it to me the night before and said, would you mind just doing all of this? MC, do all the thanks and everything else.
They did a fine
And I was
job.
like, thanks a lot.
But anyway.
Well, it's a terrific asset.
Yeah,
to
it is a
get
terrific
travel.
asset.
Oh, yes, Joe Kennedy. How can I
That's right,
forget?
Joe Kennedy, right, and was
The
Tom
third.
Kidd there as well?
Tom Kidd
Yeah,
was
was
there,
there, right.
and all the, Tim Madden was there.
right.
But Joe Kennedy was great. He
Matt
spoke
Patrick.
for his uncle, great uncle.
Right.
And he read a letter from Senator Kennedy, because Senator Kennedy was at the last dedication of the second phase 2 of the bikeway. So it really was just a great day, rain and all, who cared? And at 2:30 that day, the sun came out. But actually, when Joe Kennedy was speaking, and he was actually the last one to speak, the sun came out for like 20
Yeah, I saw that.
seconds. And then we cut the ribbon, and then the sun went back in, and the rain started all over again. So it was just a great day.
Is there anything else, Maggie?
No.
Then I will call this portion. Anyway, I think that we've adjourned. We are going to wrap up here and have.
Do we have executive session? Yes. I think
Yes,
we
we
do.
are having an
Have one of
executive
you,
session.
You have
Yes,
some.
yes.
You have some.
So I would ask you will go enter into executive session not to return to open
Yep.
session.
Yes.
Right.
And
For the purposes of
Okay, I'll move that
personnel
and
matters.
vote for it.
Yes.
Yes,
You have to
everyone
vote
for
by
it.
roll call.
Aye.
I.
Aye.
I.
That's at
Green door.
11.
No, just started it. Flynn, aye.
And Lions, I.
Aye.
So be it.